Hello and welcome everybody to what I'm sure is going to be a very special experience for all of us. I can't say that this is the only reading that James Coetzee will do from the childhood of Jesus in Australia. It's certainly the first reading that he's going to do. My name's Michael Hayward. I'm the publisher at Text. We published this extraordinary novel a few weeks ago. I'm sure that many of you have read it or in the process of reading it, so I will give it just the briefest of introductions. It's about a boy named David who, in the company of an older man named Simone, comes to a strange country, and they can't really read too many of the signs in this country, and they have to learn almost everything from scratch. And the novel describes what happens to them in this place, particularly once the older man, Simone, decides that his task is to find the boy's mother. The Childhood of Jesus is James Coetzee's 12th novel. We're very proud to publish it at Text, and I'm sure that you will all join me in making John welcome. He will read from the novel, after which time there are copies for sale as you come in. John is happy to sign copies, so if you haven't already bought a copy, you can look forward to doing so at the end of the evening. You always feel better about a reading like this if you have bought a copy of the book at the end of it. So, anyway, we are all very privileged to be here, and please join me in making James Coetzee welcome. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Michael, for the introduction, and thanks to everyone for coming in this evening. As Michael was saying, the childhood of Jesus is a story of a man and a small boy who arrive in a strange country, and the boy appears to have no parents. And the man with him determines that he will search for the boy's mother and reunite the two. I'm reading from sort of in the middle of the novel. They get off at the stop marked Terminal, where the bus turns back. The map he has picked up at the bus station shows tracks and footpaths up into the hills. His plan is to follow a winding path that leads to a lake, which, on the map, has a starburst next to it, signifying that it is a beauty spot. They are the last passengers to get off and the sole walkers on the footpath. The countryside through which they pass is empty. Though the land seems lush and fertile, there is no sign of human habitation. "Isn't it peaceful here in the country?" he remarks to the boy, though in truth the emptiness strikes him as desolate rather than peaceful. It would be better if there were animals he could point out, cattle or sheep or pigs going about their animal business. Even rabbits would do. Now and again they see birds in flight, but too far away and too high in the sky for him to be sure what kind they are. "I'm tired," announces the boy. He inspects the map. They are halfway to the lake, he guesses. "I will carry you for a while," he says, "until your strength comes back." He swings the boy onto his shoulders. "Sing out as soon as you see a lake. That'll be where the water comes from that we drink. Sing out if you see it. In fact, sing out if you see any water or if you see any country folk." They press on, but either he has misread the map or the map itself is at fault, for after rising sharply and then plunging as steeply, the track terminates without warning at a brick wall and a rusty gate overgrown with ivy. Beside the gate is a weather-beaten painted sign. He pushes aside the ivy. "La Residencia," he reads. What is a residencia? Asks the boy. A residencia is a house, a grand one, but this particular residencia may be nothing but a ruin. Can we look? They try the gate, but it will not budge. Just as they are about to turn back, there comes, carried on the breeze, the faint sound of laughter. Following the sound, beating their way through heavy undergrowth, they come to a point where the brick wall gives way to a high wire netting fence. On the other side of the fence is a tennis court, and on the court are 3 players, 2 men and a woman, dressed in white, the men in shirts and long trousers, the woman in a full skirt and a blouse with a collar turned up, and a cap with a green visor. The men are tall, broad-shouldered, slim-hipped. They look like brothers, perhaps even twin brothers. The woman has teamed up with one of them to play against the other. They're all practiced players, he sees at once, dexterous and swift of foot. The sole man is particularly good, holding his own with ease. What are they doing? Whispers the boy. It's a game, he replies in a low voice. It's called tennis. You try to hit the ball past your opponent, like scoring a goal in football. The ball thuds into the fence. Turning to retrieve it, the woman sees them. Hello, she says, and gives the boy a smile. Something stirs inside him. Who is this woman? Her smile, her voice, her bearing, there is something obscurely familiar about her. Good morning, he says, his throat dry. Come, hurry up, her partner calls. Game point. No further words pass. In fact, when her partner comes a minute later to fetch a ball, he gives the pair of them a glowering look as if to make it clear they are not welcome, not even to watch. I'm thirsty, whispers the boy. He offers the flask of water he has brought. Haven't we got anything else? What do you want, nectar? He hisses back, then at once regrets his irritation. From his pack, he takes an orange and tears a hole in the peel. The boy sucks greedily. Is that better? He asks. The boy nods. Are we going to the residencia? This must be the residencia. The tennis court must be part of it. Can we go in? We can try. Leaving the tennis players behind, they plunge on through the undergrowth, following the wall, until they emerge onto a dirt road leading to a pair of high iron gates. Behind the bars, through trees, they can glimpse an imposing building in dark stone. Though closed, the gates are not locked. They slip through and walk up a driveway ankle-deep in fallen leaves. A sign with an arrow points to an arched entranceway that opens onto a courtyard, at whose center stands a marble statue, a larger-than-life figure of a woman, or perhaps an angel in flowing robes, gazing at the horizon, holding up a flaming torch. Good afternoon, sir, says a voice. Can I help you? The speaker is an elderly man, his face lined, his back bent. He wears a faded black uniform. He has emerged from a little office or lodge in the entranceway. Yes, we have just come from the city. I wonder if we may have a word with one of the residents, a lady who is playing tennis on the court at the back. And would the lady in question wish to speak to you, sir? I believe so. There is a matter of importance that I need to discuss with her, a family matter, but we can wait until the game is over. And the lady's name? That I can't tell you, because I don't know it. But I can describe her. I would say she is about 30 years old, of medium height, with dark hair which she wears swept away from her face. She is in the company of 2 young men, and she is dressed all in white. There are a number of ladies of that general appearance in La Residencia, sir, several of whom play tennis. Tennis is quite a popular recreation. The boy tugs at his sleeve. Tell him about the dog, he whispers. The dog? The boy nods. The dog they had with them. My young friend says they have a dog, he repeats. He himself cannot recollect any dog. Aha, says the porter. He retreats into his lair, pulling the glass door to behind him. In the dim light, they can make him out shuffling through papers. Then he picks up a telephone, dials a number, listens, lays down the receiver, and returns. I'm sorry, sir, there is no reply. That is because she's out on the tennis court. Can't we just go to the courts? I'm sorry, but that is not allowed. Our facilities are off limits to visitors. Then may we wait here until she has finished playing? You may. May we walk in the garden while we wait? You may. They wander off into the overgrown garden. Who is the lady? Asks the boy. Didn't you recognize her? The boy shakes his head. Didn't you feel a strange movement in your breast when she spoke to us, when she said hello, a kind of tug at the heartstrings, as if you might have seen her before in some other place? Doubtfully, the boy shakes his head. I ask because the lady may be the very person we are looking for. That at least is the feeling I have. Is she going to be my mother? I don't know for sure. We'll have to ask her. They complete a circuit of the garden. Back at the porter's lodge, he taps at the glass. Would you mind ringing the lady again? He asks. The porter dials a number. This time there is a reply. A gentleman at the gate to see you, he hears him say. Yes, yes. He turns to them. You did say it was a family matter, did you not, sir? Yes, a family matter. And the name? The name is of no concern. The porter closes the door and resumes his conversation. At last he emerges. The lady will see you, sir, he says. However, there is a slight difficulty. Children are not allowed into the residencia. I am afraid your little boy will have to wait here. That's strange. Why are children not allowed? No children in the residencia, sir. That's the rule. I don't make the rules, I just apply them. He will have to stay behind while you pay your family visit. Will you stay with this gentleman, he asks the boy. I'll be back as soon as I can. I don't want to, says the boy. I want to come with you. I understand that, but I'm sure as soon as the lady hears you're waiting out here, she'll want to come out and meet you. So will you make a big sacrifice and stay behind with this gentleman just for a short while? Will you come back? Do you promise? Of course. The boy is silent, will not meet his eye. Can't you make an exception in this case? He asks the porter. He will be very quiet. He won't disturb anyone. Sorry, sir, no exceptions. Where would we be if we began making exceptions? Soon everyone would want to be an exception, and then there would be no rules left, would there? You can play in the garden, he tells the boy. To the porter, he can play in the garden, can't he? Of course. Go and climb a tree, he tells the boy. There are lots of trees good for climbing. I'll be back in no time. Following the porter's instructions, he crosses the quadrangle, passes through a second entranceway, and knocks at a door with the word una on it. There is no reply. He enters. He is in a waiting room. The walls are papered in white with the motif of a lyre and a lily in pale green. From hidden lamps, white light is cast discreetly upwards. There is a sofa in white imitation leather and 2 easy chairs. On a small table by the door are 6 bottles and glasses of all shapes. He sits down, waits. The minutes pass. He rises and peers down the corridor, no sign of life. Idly, he examines the bottles. Cream sherry, dry sherry, vermouth. Alcohol content by volume 4%. Oblivedo. Where is Oblivedo? Then, suddenly, she is there, still in her tennis clothes, solider than she had seemed on the court, almost heavy set. She bears a plate, which she places on the table. Without greeting him, she seats herself on the sofa, crosses her legs under her long skirt. You wanted to see me? She says. Yes. His heart is beating fast. Thank you for coming. My name is Simon. You don't know me. I am of no importance. I come on behalf of someone else, bearing a proposal. Won't you sit, she says, something to eat, a glass of sherry? With an unsteady hand, he pours a glass of sherry and takes one of the flimsy little triangular sandwiches. Cucumber. He sits opposite her, downs the sweet liquor. It goes straight to his head. The tension lifts, and words come in a rush. I have brought someone here. In fact, the child you saw at the tennis court. He is outside waiting. The porter would not allow him in because he is a child. Will you come and meet him? You have brought a child to meet me? Yes. He rises and pours himself another glass of the liberating sherry. I am sorry this must be confusing, strangers arriving without announcement, but I can't tell you how important it is. We have been, without warning, the door swings open and the boy himself is before them, out of breath, panting. Come here, he beckons to the boy. Do you recognize the lady now? He turns to her. Her face is frozen in alarm. May he take your hand? And to the boy, come, take the lady's hand. The boy stands stock still. Now the porter himself arrives on the scene, clearly upset. I'm sorry, sir, he says, but this is against the rules. As I warned you, I must ask you to leave. He turns to the woman in appeal. Surely she does not have to submit to this porter and his rules, but she utters no word of protest. Have a heart, he says to the porter. We have traveled a long way. What if we all retire to the garden? Would that still be against the rules? No, sir, but note the gates close at 5 o'clock sharp. He addresses the woman. Can we go out into the garden? Please, give me a chance to explain. In silence, the boy holding his hand, the three of them cross the quadrangle into the tangled garden. This must once have been a magnificent establishment, he remarks, trying to clear the air, trying to sound like a sensible adult. A pity the garden is so neglected. We have only one full-time gardener. It is too much for him. And you yourself have you been a resident here long? For a while. If we follow that path there, we come out at a pond with goldfish. Your son might like that. In fact, I'm not his father. I look after him. I am a guardian of sorts, temporarily. Where are his parents? His parents, that is the reason why we're here today. The boy does not have parents, not in the usual way. There was a mishap on board the boat during the voyage here. A letter went missing that might have explained everything. As a result, his parents are lost, or more accurately, he is lost. He and his mother have been separated, and we are trying to find her. His father is a different matter. They have reached the promised pond, in which there are indeed goldfish, both small and large. The boy kneels down at the edge, using a frond of sedge in an attempt to lure them. Let me be more precise, he says, speaking softly and rapidly. The boy has no mother. Ever since we got off the boat, we have been searching for her. Will you consider taking him? Taking him. Yes, being a mother to him, being his mother. Will you take him as your son? I don't understand. In fact, I understand nothing at all. Are you suggesting that I adopt your boy? Not adopt, be his mother, his full mother. We have only one mother, each of us. Will you be that one and only mother to him? Up to this point, she has been listening attentively, but now she begins to glance around a little wildly, as if hoping that someone, the porter, one of her tennis companions, anyone, will come to her rescue. What of his real mother, she says. Where is she? Is she still alive? He had thought the child was too absorbed in the goldfish to be listening, but now he suddenly pipes up. She is not dead. Then where is she? The child is silent. For a while, he too is silent. Then he speaks. Please believe me. Please take it on faith. This is not a simple matter. The boy is without mother. What that means, I cannot explain to you because I cannot explain it to myself. Yet I promise you, if you will simply say yes, without forethought, without afterthought, all will become clear to you, as clear as day, or so I believe. Therefore, will you accept this child as yours? She glances at her wrist, on which there is no wristwatch. It's getting late, she says. My brothers will be expecting me. She turns and strides swiftly back toward the residence, her skirt swishing through the grass. He runs after her. Please, he says, one moment more. Here, let me write down his name. His name is David. That is the name he goes by, the name he was given in the camp. And this is where we live, just outside the city, in the East Village. Please think about it. He presses the scrap of paper into her hand. Then she is gone. Doesn't she want me? Asks the child. Of course she wants you. You are such a handsome, clever boy. Who would not want you? But first of all, she must get used to the idea. We have planted the seed in her mind. Now we must be patient and allow it to grow. As long as you and she like each other, it is certain to grow and flower. You do like the lady, don't you? You can see how kind she is, kind and gentle. The boy is silent. By the time they have found their way back to the terminus, it is nearly dark. In the bus, The boy falls asleep in his arms. He has to carry him asleep from the bus stop to the apartment. In the middle of the night, he is roused from a deep sleep. It is the boy standing by his bedside, tears streaming down his face. "I'm hungry," he whines. He gets up, warms some milk, butters a slice of bread. "Are we going to live there?" asks the boy, his mouth full. "At La Residencia? I don't think so. There would be nothing for me to do. I would become like one of those bees that just hangs around the hive waiting for meal times. But we can discuss it in the morning. There's lots of time." "I don't want to live there. I want to live here with you." No one is going to force you to live where you don't want to. Now, let us go back to bed. He sits with the child, stroking him softly until he is asleep. "I want to live with you." What if that wish comes bitterly true? Does he have it in him to be both father and mother to the child, to bring him up in the ways of goodness while all the time holding down a job at the docks? He curses himself inwardly. If only he had presented their case more calmly, more rationally. But no, he must behave like a madman, bursting in upon the poor woman with his pleas and his demands. Take this child, be his one and only mother. Better if he'd found a way of giving the boy into her arms, body to body, flesh to flesh. Then memories lying deeper than all thought might have been reawoken, and all would have been well. But, alas, it came too suddenly for her, this great moment, as it had come too suddenly for him. It had burst on him like a star, and he had failed it. I make a jump now to later in the novel. The woman in question, whose name is Inez, has taken on the boy as hers. She is living with the boy in the apartment, and Simon has moved out. Since Inez took it over, the apartment has lost its once austere air. It has, in fact, become cluttered, and not only with her many possessions. Worst is the corner by the boy's bed, where a cardboard box overflows with objects he has collected and brought home. Pebbles, pine cones, withered flowers, bones, shells, bits of crockery and old metal. "Isn't it time to throw out that mess?" he suggests. "It's not a mess," says the boy. "It's things I am saving." He gives the box a push with his foot. "It's rubbish. You can't save every last thing you come across." "It's my museum," says the boy. A load of old rubbish is not a museum. Things have to have some value before they can find a place in a museum. What is value? If things have value, it means that people in general prize them, agree they are valuable. An old broken cup has no value. No one prizes it. I prize it. It's my museum, not yours. He turns to Inez. "Does this have your blessing?" "Let him be. He says he feels sorry for old things." "You can't feel sorry for an old cup without a handle." The boy stares at him uncomprehendingly. "A cup has no feelings. If you threw it away, it wouldn't care. It wouldn't be hurt. If you're going to feel sorry for an old cup, you may as well feel sorry for, he casts around in exasperation, for the sky, the air, the earth beneath your feet. You might as well feel sorry for everything. The boy continues to stare. Things are not meant to last forever, he says. Each thing has its natural term. That old cup had a good life. Now it is time for it to retire and make way for a new cup. The stubborn look with which he is by now so familiar settles on the boy's face. No, he says, I am going to keep it. I'm not going to let you take it away. It is mine. Inez is busy at the stove. A smell of scorched meat is in the air. Suppertime, she calls out. Go and wash your hands. I'll be off now, Simon says. Goodbye, I'll see you tomorrow. Do you have to go, says Inez. Wouldn't you like to stay and watch him have his supper? The table is set for one, for the little prince. From the frying pan, Inez transfers 2 slim sausages to his plate. In an arc around them, she sets the halves of a boiled potato, slices of carrot, and florets of cauliflower, over which she drips grease from the pan. Bolivar, the dog, who has been sleeping by the open window, rouses himself and pads over. Sausages, says the boy. Sausages are the best food. I haven't seen sausages in a long while, he remarks to Inez. Where did you buy them? My brother Diego got them. He's friendly with someone in the kitchen at La Residencia. The boy cuts his sausages into bits, cuts his potatoes, chews vigorously. He seems quite untroubled by the 2 adults standing over him, or by the dog resting his head on his knee, watching his every move. Don't forget your carrots, says Inez. They make you see in the dark. Like a cat, says the boy. Like a cat, says Inez. The boy eats his carrots. What is cauliflower good for? He asks. Cauliflower is good for your health. Cauliflower is good for your health, and meat makes you strong, right? That's right, meat makes you strong. I must go, Simon says to Inez. Meat does make you strong, but maybe you should think twice before feeding him sausages. Why, says the boy, why should Inez think twice? Because of what they put in sausages. What goes into sausages is not always good for you. What do they put in sausages? Well, what do you think? Meat. Yes, but what kind of meat? Kangaroo meat. Now you're being silly. Elephant meat. They put pig meat in sausages. Not always, but sometimes. And pigs aren't clean animals. They don't eat grass like sheep and cows. They eat anything they come across. He glances at Inez. She glares back, tight-lipped. For instance, they eat poo. Out of the toilet? No, not out of the toilet, but if they happen to come across poo in a field, they'll eat it, without thinking twice. They are omnivorous, which means they eat anything. They even eat each other. That's not true, says Inez. Is there poo in sausages, says the boy. He has laid his fork down. He is talking nonsense, child. Don't listen to him. There is no poo in your sausage. I'm not saying there is actual poo in your sausage, he says, but there is poo meat in it. Pigs are unclean animals. Pig meat is poo meat. But that is just my opinion. Not everyone will agree. You must decide for yourself. I don't want any more, says the boy, pushing his plate aside. Bolivar can have it. Finish your plate and I'll give you a chocolate, says Inez. No. I hope you feel proud of yourself, says Inez, turning on him. It's a matter of hygiene, ethical hygiene. If you eat pig, you become like a pig. In part. Not wholly, but in part. You partake of the pig. You are crazy, says Inez. She addresses the boy. Don't listen to him, he has gone crazy. I'm not crazy. It's called consubstantiation. Why else do you think there are cannibals? A cannibal is a person who takes consubstantiation seriously. If we eat another person, we embody that person. That is what cannibals believe. What is a cannibal? Asks the boy. Cannibals are savages, says Inez. You don't have to worry. There are no cannibals here. Cannibals are just a fable. What's a fable? A story from the old days that isn't true anymore. Tell me a fable. I want to hear a fable. I don't know any fables. Now finish your supper. If you won't tell him a fable, tell him a story, he says to Inez. Tell him about Little Red Riding Hood, about how the wolf gobbles up the little girl's grandmother and turns into a grandmother, a wolf grandmother, by consubstantiation. The boy gets up, scrapes the food from his plate into the dog's bowl and puts the plate in the kitchen sink. The dog gobbles down the sausages. The boy has made friends with an old man in Block E who keeps a pigeon cot on the roof. According to the letterbox in the lobby, his name is Palamaki, but the boy calls him Senor Paloma, Mr. Dove. Senor Paloma lets the boy feed the birds by hand. He has even given him a pigeon of his own, a pure white bird which the boy names Blanco. Blanco is a placid, even torpid bird who allows himself to be taken for walks sitting on the boy's outstretched wrist or sometimes on his shoulder. He shows no inclination to fly away or indeed to fly at all. I think Blanco's wings may have been clipped, he says to the boy. That would explain why he doesn't fly. No, says the boy. Look. He tosses the bird in the air. It flaps its wings languidly, circles once or twice, then settles on his shoulder again and preens itself. Senor Paloma says Blanco can carry messages, says the boy. He says, if I get lost, I can tie a message to Blanco's leg, and Blanco will fly home, and then Senor Paloma will come and find me. That's very kind of Senor Paloma. You will have to make sure you carry a pencil and paper around with you, and a piece of string so that you can tie the paper to Blanco's leg. What will you write? Show me what you will write when you want to be rescued. They are crossing the empty playground. In the sand pit, the boy squats down, smooths the surface, and with a finger begins to write. He reads over his shoulder. O, then E, then a character he cannot make out, then O again, then X, and again X. The boy rises. Read it, he says. I'm having difficulty. Is it Spanish? The boy nods. No, I give up. What does it say? It says, follow Blanco. Blanco is my best friend. Indeed. It used to be that Fidel was your best friend. What has happened that Fidel is no longer your friend and his place has been taken by a bird? Fidel is too old for me. Fidel is rough. I've never seen Fidel being rough. Fidel is a perfectly gentle boy. I'm fond of him, and you used to be fond of him too. Let me tell you something. Fidel is hurt because you no longer play with him. In my opinion, you are treating Fidel badly. In fact, you are treating him roughly. In my opinion, you should spend less time with Senor Paloma on the roof and more time with Fidel. The boy strokes the bird on his arm. The rebuke is accepted without demur Or perhaps he simply lets the words wash over him. Furthermore, I think you should inform Inez it is time for you to go to school. You should insist on it. I know you are very clever and have taught yourself to read and write, but in real life you have to be able to write like other people. It is no use sending Blanco off with a message tied to his leg if no one can read it, not even Señor Paloma. I can read it. You can read it because you are the one who wrote it. But the whole point about messages is that other people need to be able to read them. If you get lost and send a message to Señor Paloma to come and save you, he must be able to read your message. Otherwise, you will have to tie yourself to Blanco's leg and tell him to fly you home. The boy gives him a puzzled look. But, he says, then he sees it as a joke, and they both laugh and laugh. Thank you.